We got to talk about Uncle Trump and all of the winning that he has been doing lately because, boy, let me tell you, it's been a whole lot of winning. I mean, win after win after win. But of course, if we only paid attention to lamestream media, yeah, I called them lame stream media, not mainstream media, we would think otherwise, right? You know, all of the panicins, as Uncle Trump coined, the panicins. You know, oh, we're going to get dragged into World War III. Oh, my goodness, the tariffs are going to destroy the economy. Oh, no, Trump is going to destroy everything. You guys remember all of that? Yeah, we're going to get into that. But before we get into that, we got to talk about some winning. Because it's been so much winning that even the lamestream media had to report on it. And I mean like a whole long segment on it. No joke. You know you're doing a lot of winning when they have to talk about it. And the segment that they talk about it is actually decently long. So with that being said, you ready? Let's dive in.
The mission was carried out with stealth and with precision. There were no American casualties. And while Congress is divided after receiving briefings on the extent of the damage, I'm sure that we've derailed Iran's nuclear program, at least temporarily. And there's some valuable deterrent effect for America's adversaries who witnessed last week's exercise. Then, last Tuesday, President Trump left the White House en route to Europe. At the time, there was a question as to whether Israel and Iran would honor a ceasefire. That caused the president to offer the most unfiltered, non-controversial, direct words that I can recall anybody ever saying about the Middle East.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Cut to The Hague, where he arrived for NATO meetings and was able to wrangle an agreement from our allies to more than double their defense spending target from 2% of gross domestic product to 5% by 2035. Also, while at NATO, in a press availability, he did something rare for Trump and I found rewarding. He showed empathy. It came in an exchange with a Ukrainian journalist who said that her husband was a soldier. She asked whether the U.S. would supply her country with Patriot missiles.
Are you living yourself now in Ukraine?
My husband is there.
Wow.
And
I can see you very, it's amazing.
And me with the kids, I'm in Warsaw actually, because he wanted me to be.
Is your husband a soldier? No?
He is.
He's there now. They do want to have the missiles, okay, as they call them, the Patriots. And we're going to see if we can make some available. I wish you a lot of luck. I mean, I can see it's very upsetting to you. So say hello to your husband, okay?
Also in that presser, he was more reflective and respectful than usual of our allies.
They want to protect their country. And they need the United States. And without the United States, it's not going to be the same. And I left here differently. I left here saying that these people really love their countries. It's not a ripoff. And we're here to help them protect their country.
Back at home, Trump claimed that he's reached a trade deal with China and soon expects the same with India. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told Bloomberg that the deal was signed earlier this week. China's Commerce Ministry said Friday the two sides had further confirmed the details of the framework. Of course, Trump's initial imposition of tariffs wreaked havoc on American markets back in the spring. But now the markets have rebounded and grown. The S&P 500, NASDAQ hit record highs just yesterday. And it's not just the stock market. Inflation, the great economic fear of recent times, seems to be tamed. The rate is now reported at 2.4%, down from a high of 7% just 4 years ago. Meanwhile, blue-collar workers have seen real wage growth of 1.7% in Trump's first 5 months. This is the largest such increase in nearly 3 generations. Notwithstanding its impact on our national debt, there's also hope among some that Trump's big, beautiful bill will give further financial relief to blue-collar workers, as well as create incentives to build more factories in the U.S. Some already see this happening. For instance, General Electric has just announced that it'll invest almost $500 million in moving production of washing machines from China to Kentucky. And then there's the border. Crossings have slowed to a trickle. According to CBP's May update, Southwest border encounters have fallen to about 282 a day, a drop of 93% from last year and the lowest since the early 1960s. Perhaps the loudest cheering for those border numbers is coming from America's Latino community, which might initially sound counterintuitive. On Thursday, Pew Research released an enormous data analysis of the 2024 election, which contained several surprises. High on that list, President Trump won a bigger percentage of the Latino vote than previously believed. Hillary Clinton had a 38% lead over Trump among Hispanics in 2016. Joe Biden beat Trump in this demo by 25 percentage points. Kamala Harris's margin among these same voters over Trump, just 3 points. Even more surprising, perhaps, Pew Research concludes that if everyone had voted in 2024, contrary to the widely held belief that higher turnout helps Democrats, Trump would still have won. The data show 44% of non-voters said that they would have gone for Trump compared to 40% of non-voters who would have gone for Harris. So if more had voted, his margin would have grown. Yesterday came a huge decision from the Supreme Court. The High Court declared that federal district judges exceeded their authority when issuing nationwide injunctions against Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. This will, of course, strengthen executive power both for Trump and for his successors. And finally, a Democratic socialist just won the nomination for mayor of New York City. And perhaps you're wondering, well, how does that affect Trump? It gives him the perfect foil, someone to play off in future political battles. This morning's New York Post references campaign literature for Zohran Mamdani, which advocates for increased taxation for, quote, richer and whiter neighborhoods. Just imagine what Trump will do with that. Winning became a punchline that Trump's opponents used to lampoon him in his first administration. He was a political novice then, surrounded by a team with which he was unfamiliar, and he was probably as surprised as the rest of us were that he won the election. This time is different. This time he came with a plan and a cabinet with senior advisors comprised of loyalists all well known to the president. And recently, he's exhibited a more layered approach to governing on both the domestic and international front, no longer solely guided by winning each day's news cycle. By any objective measure, President Trump has his opponents on the run.
So yeah, you heard it there. Win after win after win after win after win. So much so that they're actually having to report on it now. But that's not all. Check out this other clip here.
We're just minutes away from the closing bell on Wall Street, and the S&P 500 closed yesterday on the cusp of a record high. Right now, kind of flatlining down just a teensy-weensy bit. CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich joins us now with more. Vanessa, this is really impressive given where the market was not that long ago.
Yeah, really a remarkable story on Wall Street. We've been watching the S&P very closely all day as it has been flirting with a new record, the last one set back in February. But it is remarkable because at the low of the S&P, it had shed $9.8 trillion in April, almost entering bear market territory. And it's nearly now recovered all of its losses. And just look at the markets. You see the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ on your screen. That dramatic V-shaped drop and then recovery. I was talking to a chief investment strategist, Sam Stovall of CFRA, who told me that usually it takes about 4 months for markets to enter the low and then another 4 months for a recovery to get back to even. That happened in half the time. So it really is remarkable. And essentially investors, what they have seen is that after the 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs and after the tariff rates on China were reduced from 145% to 30%, they really believe that the fear of a recession was taken off the table and that maybe some of these tariffs had more bark than bite. And also, Boris, just recently, the conflict in the Middle East between Iran and Israel. Well, what happened over the weekend was that the U.S. took out nuclear sites in Iran. And so Wall Street woke up Monday morning and they were relieved. Investors were relieved. So you saw a little bit of a relief rally happening today. But we're watching down to the last minute to see if the S&P will hit a new record today.
So you heard that there. Things are going great, if I do say so myself. And, you know, just a little cherry on top of everything, because, of course, one of Trump's slogans leading up to last election was none other than drill, baby, drill. And let me tell y'all something. He's having success with it again.
Let's start with this good news. Gas prices down Will they continue to drop, or is it too early to tell, Christine?
You know, we think they might. A lot of experts looking, as long as you don't get a really bad hurricane season or you don't get any supply disruptions. So really looking at gas prices that are best in 4 years. And this is so important for all of those millions of people who will be hitting the roads starting on Tuesday. That's when this starts, July 1st, Tuesday through the next Monday. That's the big travel period for people who are driving. And you've got these gas prices up 3.21 cents. That's really a decent price considering 20 cents less than it was a year ago. So that's $6 or $7 extra when you fill up. That's real money.
Let's start with this good.
Lowest gas prices in 4 years. 4 years. Lowest. Incredible how that works. You know, you just switch presidents and all of a sudden, you know, things actually start lining up. Things actually start getting cheaper. But remember, all the panicking, right? And I call them panicking because that's what Uncle Trump called them. Panicking, all the people panicking. Oh my goodness, World War III. Oh my goodness, Trump's going to destroy the economy. You remember that? Well, if you don't, let's take a little trip down memory lane, shall we?
If America went through an operation, remember when Trump claimed that? Well, the recovery isn't looking too good right now, is it? What was Trump doing during all of this market upheaval? Well, he wasn't at the White House, glued to the television screens, watching the markets or huddling with advisors, it seems. No, he was playing golf. And CNN's Fareed Zakaria points out it's more than just the stock market that's going sideways.
This may be the biggest economic policy-making error of my lifetime. I've never seen anything like this. The stock market, the bond market, the commodity markets, everybody is signaling that this was a disaster, and it's going to be more pain to come.
Stocks, bonds, commodities, oh my. But the stock market, the commodities, the bonds, none of that has the White House changing its position. No, they're sticking to its guns. But you know what one game they won't be playing? Nintendo. It's delaying U.S. pre-orders for the new Switch 2 because of the uncertainty around the tariffs. So while Trump is hoping the economy sounds like this, right now, it's really more like this. And you know what millions of Americans are hoping? They're hoping it doesn't end up like this.
Wow. Incredible. Incredible. Using the Nintendo sounds. But there's more. Remember these panicking?
Well, we were on the brink of World War III because Donald Trump took the worst possible option given to him in a slideshow.
In this country, we have begun to overestimate the dangers of impeachment and underestimate the dangers of a deranged president retaining control over a nuclear hyperpower.
We cannot wait around while Donald Trump is in control of the nuclear weapon.
Your objection to potentially going into World War III cannot be procedural.
The biggest danger of the Trump presidency is that we are always just a Trump whim away from nuclear war.
They say it's World War III, but I'm looking out my window. It's very quiet in those smoking craters out there.
Has to be told that it's his job to avoid World War III.
One Democratic congressman sent me a note this evening and say this president wants this war.
A future administration needs to find a way to put an end to the forever wars.
And new normal, and the new normal is forever war.
But there's a big difference between ending the forever wars, which he wants to do responsibly, and what seems to be President Trump's rather itchy Twitter finger.
And that video goes on for like another minute or so, but I'm not going to bore you guys with that. But some folks have come around, though, and admitted that they were wrong. Larry Elder, take it away.
Now, this is interesting. There is a big management firm manages assets called Apollo Global Management. It's got half a trillion dollars under management, over $500 billion. So they're huge. Their chief economist has now done a 180 on tariffs. He said Trump, quote, has outsmarted us all, close quote, on the issue of tariffs. He said what Trump has done is to use tariffs as a means to negotiate better terms with our trading partners. and I underestimated him, and he may very well have outsmarted us all, he said. He still says he's a tariff skeptic, and he still says the future is uncertain, but he now says that Trump may very well be right in putting pressure on our trading partners, and Trump may very well have, quote, outsmarted us all. This is a big deal.
Big deal. Big deal. Here's the article from the New York Post, as you guys can see there on your screen. Wall Street economist who ripped Trump admits president may have outsmarted all of us on tariffs. Incredible. Incredible. Not long ago, the Panicans, and yes, I call them Panicans because that's what Uncle Trump called them. The Panicans were, oh my goodness, World War III. Oh my goodness, the tariffs are going to destroy everything. The economy, look at the stock market. Oh my goodness. And now, I want you guys to take a look at some of his recent wins. And these aren't all of them, mind you, but this is some of them. 12-day war ceasefire. NATO defense spending agreement. He made the members of NATO increase their spending, okay, so that us Americans, aren't taking the brunt of the spending anymore. I mean, I think we'll still be taking the brunt, but not as much, okay? They'll be paying, as Democrats like to say, their fair share, okay? Rwanda-Congo peace deal, and I believe this war between Rwanda and Congo has been going on for 30 years, since the 90s. I believe 94, if I remember correctly. Maybe 96, I don't remember. It's like mid-90s, if I remember correctly. Brokered a peace deal between the two on a war that's been going on for 30 years, okay? The Supreme Court ends nationwide injunctions, so these liberal judges can't just, on a whim, just stop Trump's agenda as if they were the president, as if they got elected, or as if they were elected as president and not Uncle Trump. Supreme Court stopped it, ended it. These liberal judges can't do it anymore. Well, they can, but only under certain circumstances. They can't just, on a whim, just do it anymore like they were doing at the very beginning of Trump's administration. They also green-lighted third country deportation. So basically, people can be deported to a third country if their own home country, if their original home country doesn't want them back. Trump can just say, all right, well, I'm deporting you to South Africa or something because they'll take you. So see you later. All right. Which I think is a phenomenal. Get these folks up out of here. Record high stock market. The stock market hit a record high. I believe that was the day before yesterday. And yeah, there's more, right? So win after win after win after win. And then on top of that, of course, Democrats were trying their thing again. Senate Democrats tried to pass a bill that would limit Trump's ability to be the commander-in-chief of the military. You know how that went?
By the way, just moments ago, the Senate voted to turn down the War Powers Resolution effort by Democrats. As you look there at the Senate floor, another win for the Trump administration. This was going to curb any future action inside Iran that the president chose to do. And your thoughts about this whole thing?
Well, the president was having a great time. That's why he allowed it to go on and on and on with what he calls the fake news. But, you know, we live in such a...
So even after all the panicking, Trump has continued to stack up the wins, even though the opposition from Democrats continues to persist. Oh my goodness, we gotta stop Trump. Like, can you believe these folks tried to basically not allow the commander-in-chief to be commander-in-chief of the military? Like, come on now, make that make some type of sense. You can't. It's just silly. It is just absolutely silly. Thank goodness we have a majority because, boy, will we be going through some hard times right now. And listen, we have to expand our majority. I think we're projected to expand the majority in the Senate by 1 or 2 seats. I forgot the numbers on the House, but I think the House numbers look pretty good as of now, okay? But we all have to show up and do our part. When it's time to go and vote, we got to show up, all right? We got to show up. We can't just let these liberals and these leftists go out and vote Because of course they're gonna march and they're gonna do their whole little thing. They're gonna get their buses, okay, and be bussing people around. All right. So we all have to make sure that we still show up even with all this winning. All right. And listen, I don't think the winning is over yet. This is just the beginning. Like to me, it feels like Trump has been president for a long time, but he hasn't even been president for a year yet. Okay, so the winning shall continue, and I can't wait to see what it's going to be like over these next 4 years, baby. So y'all get in the comments and let me know your thoughts and your opinions on all of this. If there's any win that I missed, let us all know in the comments. I'm sure I missed something because there's been so much winning. I apologize for missing some of the winning, but I covered a lot of it, all right? Y'all stay safe out there. Thanks for tuning in as always. Peace and love. I'm out.